life stories, and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
All right, so you may want to try to get pregnant. And are you looking to figure out when the heck are you ovulating? Or maybe you're already pregnant and you just want to know the due date of your baby, right? All of these pregnancy things or all of this stuff just isn't quite adding up when it comes to due dates, delivery, because you need to know when you're actually ovulating. No worries. I am your favorite pregnancy doctor and will explain all of the math behind ovulation and conception in today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 89. When do women ovulate? Do you want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now, and get 25% off with the code PUKE25. Or just place your No More Nausea band on your registry at Bye Bye Baby or in your delivery room bag, and it ships for free in just 2 days as an Amazon Prime vendor. And remember, your little ones are always taken care of with No More Nausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights Kids. By the way, they're all at Walmart. So, moms, if you can't sleep as well, go pick some up and try it there. Today, you're going to hear some hilarious pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants. Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway being pregnant, with hilarious stories like airport face flush, highway blues, and Freaky Friday. Now, if you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you'll learn the science behind your fertility by charting your menstrual cycle, learn all 4 phases of ovulation, and get the best due date calendar that's easy to read. Plus 7 tips for getting pregnant if you're not already pregnant as of right now. In today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 89, Ovulation Calculator. Let's jump right in.
The science of pukeology.
So when do women actually ovulate? If you're wondering when is the perfect time to conceive, you will need to know about ovulation. It will also help you to understand the length of your menstrual cycle. Now, this is going to be an absolute helpful hint for when you're conceiving. So what exactly is ovulation? Now, ovulation refers to the release of a mature egg from your ovary. Therefore, ovulation is one of those periods in your menstrual cycle. The released egg has 2 specific fates. Either it meets an awaiting sperm to get fertilized inside your fallopian tube and then is implanted inside of the wall of your womb, developing into what's called pregnancy. Or it fails to meet the sperm and is disintegrated and removed during your menstrual period, which is ant flow or whatever you want to call it, together with the shedding of the uterine lining. Therefore, knowing when you are ovulating can help you to know when you are most fertile to conceive or avoid having unprotected sex so that you don't get pregnant, regardless of which way your actual needs and desires are. When do women ovulate? Now, this is the question of the hour. When your ovulation occurs depends on when you're menstruating or your menstrual cycle, but it typically happens day 14 days before the start of your next period. Most women have a 28-day menstrual cycle. They ovulate in the middle of their cycle at day 14. What if you don't have a 28-day cycle? You can still establish when you're going to ovulate. However, you need to keep a menstrual calendar. Still, you'll ovulate around 14 days before the start of your next period. So if you have a 30-day cycle, just remember to add 2. In addition, you can stay on and watch for the signs and symptoms of ovulation. So the signs and symptoms of ovulation that everyone is going to experience is a thinning of your vaginal secretions and cervical mucus. When you're about to ovulate, the secretions become clear and stretchy. Increase your basal metabolic temperature. This is actually called family planning. A lot of women who are not on birth control utilize this as a birth control method. Now, it's not 100%. How do I know? Because I had one of those babies. Again, you can actually chart your temperature, and when you see an increase in your basal metabolic temperature rate, that means that you're currently ovulating. So during ovulation, you will notice a slight increase in your body temperature at rest. However, you need a specific thermometer to measure your basal body temperature, and make sure that you're doing it every single day at the exact same time. I did it every morning to make sure that it was consistent. And so I could see, and I had just been at rest, what my basal metabolic temperature was. When are you likely to conceive? It is important to understand that your menstrual cycle, including ovulation, is about an estimate of your fertile window. This is the period when you are likely to conceive if you've had unprotected sexual intercourse. Your fertility window is usually 6 days leading up to and including ovulation. But remember, once a mature egg is released from the ovary, it stays alive in the fallopian tubes for about 24 hours after which it can no longer release fertilization, resulting in the termination of your fertility window. So again, we're talking about, that, 14 days prior to, and then there's about 6 days where it's 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And you have to make sure that you kind of take into account that there is a day, right, waiting period. Remember, sperm that are actually male are the fast ones, right? They're the ones that swim up very, very quickly, and they're usually the ones to get to the egg first. Now, if the egg itself is traversing down and doesn't meet the sperms that are females generally tend to not swim as fast, and they kind of just wait around. So there is a period of time in which the actual tracking motion. Most of the male sperm die very quickly because they've used up all their energy to chart up right up there to try to get the egg, versus the sperms that are female, or I should say the ones that are carrying another X chromosome. Those are the ones that kind of stay and remain a little bit longer. So you could have a potential 48 to 36 hour window of time period in which you were not accounting for that you could be pregnant. So I digress. Remember, once the mature egg is released from one of the ovaries, it stays alive inside the fallopian tube for 24 hours after which it can no longer be fertilized, resulting in a termination of your fertility window. On the other hand, sperm, like we talked about before, have a longer lifespan and may stay in there for several days, awaiting your fallopian tubes to release an egg. Now let's get into a little bit of some hilarious pregnancy humor. Why? Because that was a lot of egg and sperm talk.
Growing up on a Tuesday?
Or Friday.
One puke story.
The worst part of barfing in a public bathroom at an airport was the automatic toilet, and it just continuously kept flushing in my face. And I peed my pants, of course, with the heavy heaving. My bag was already checked through, so I had no clean pants for the next 6 hours. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Keisha, for that hilarious puke story. I can only envision. I, again, travel quite often and cannot imagine being a continuous flush. That would suck so bad being pregnant. Well, I hope the rest of your pregnancy you had no more pregnancy nausea. Number 2, I got really good at throwing up in plastic baggies while driving, but once it happened while I was driving 70 miles an hour down a freeway, and it got all over me. Ew. Anaya from Washington. By the way, when you roll down the window itself and you are throwing up as a projectile, it's going to come right back into your face. I can't imagine how gross that was once you got home. But thanks for that puke story, Anaya. Number 3, I thought I was over the sickness part of it and then was getting frisky with my husband. I don't want to be graphic here, but let's just say we found out the hard way that pregnancy gives me a really strong gag reflex. It was really, really bad. Thank you, Amanda, for that hilarious puke story. And some people actually keep, unfortunately, that gag reflex. So even when they put a toothbrush back there, it's just something about the pregnancy hormones that cause it. Do you have a hilarious puke story, or pregnancy story, I should say, that you just can't wait to share? Send it to me, pukeology@nomonausea.com, so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
What does conception date mean? Well, like most women, you're probably asking yourself, when did you exactly get pregnant? Well, the truth is that it's very difficult to establish the exact day that you got pregnant. Conception date refers to the day in which a mature egg was fertilized by an awaiting sperm, resulting in the start of pregnancy. In most women, conception date typically happens about 11 to 21 days after the day they began their last normal menstrual period. While the conception date is determined based on this very difficult pinpointed time, exact time of fertilization, we also use what's called ovulation calendars in order to help us as physicians to figure out where exactly you are in the life cycle of your pregnancy. What is the most accurate way to calculate conception? Well, the most accurate way to calculate conception is an ultrasound. An ultrasound is the most accurate way to determine how far along your pregnancy is. Ultrasound exams provide images and they include various measurements of your baby's development that can help to estimate how many weeks pregnant you are and the approximate conception date. The way that they do this is they actually measure multiple different organ groups of the baby itself, not just their head size, their length, but also how big their heart, their liver, their kidney, all these other ones. We usually have what's called an anatomical ultrasound that's usually 20 weeks that determines what the baby is, right? The sex or the gender of the baby, but as well as how is everything improving because of the fact most pregnancies generally tend to naturally terminate themselves before 16 weeks pregnant. So just kind of letting you know that when you get to that ultrasound of 20 weeks, you're kind of in the clear, especially when it comes to the baby's viability. Now, tips for getting pregnant. If you want to increase your odds of getting pregnant faster, here's some tips that you might want to try. Number one, take your prenatal vitamins. All right. So start popping those prenatals at least a month or two before you begin trying to have a baby. One study showed that the women who were taking prenatal vitamins while undergoing fertility treatments were twice as likely to get pregnant as those who were only taking a folic acid supplement while going through the same exact treatments. So while it's not guaranteed that you'll hit the baby jackpot sooner, it's definitely worth a shot. Why not? It can't hurt anything. And actually, it can make your hair and nails beautiful. Number two, know the signs of ovulation and the time sex right around it. Familiarize yourself with the typical ovulation symptoms to look out for and have sex during those different times before ovulation and obviously continue during ovulation. Any of my friends who do infertility or IVF, they would suggest that you have sex every single day, especially during those windows of time. But remember to enjoy it because of the fact that your body can naturally produce histamines and or other type of hormones that are generally tend to be excreted during a stressful moment. So you don't exactly want that, right? You want to be able to have a free, carefree, enjoyable time in order to be able to get pregnant itself. So when you are having sex during those few days before you start to ovulate, and typically during midway through your cycle, so on day 14 of 28, having sex on the actual day of ovulation would be perfect and ideal. But remember, it's hard to pinpoint, and the fact that the sperm can actually live for about 1 to 2 days extra. So start a little bit early. So start on day 12 of your cycle period instead of day 14, because you never know. It might be able to find the egg just right. Number three, eat well. Eating the right foods and nutrients while you're trying to conceive can help your dreams of getting pregnant come true and become pregnant more quickly. Make sure that you're incorporating plenty of healthy fats, including omega-3s, folate, calcium, protein, iron, and fiber into your daily diet. There's nothing better. There's nothing I can tell you that's inside of a pill form that you can't get from nature. Just remember that they have what's called the dirty dozen when it comes to different organic substances. You want to make sure that your fruits and vegetables are organic and that you clean them very well because of the fact that any type of pesticides can obviously be a hindrance to you getting pregnant. But try to make sure that you're eating all of those fresh fruits and vegetables and getting your daily amount of fiber and calcium and iron and all those good things. So a little helpful hint, if you ever have one of those cast iron skillets, right, cook your food in it. It actually increases the iron content. is a little helpful tip. Number 4, exercise. Moderate exercise for about 30 minutes a day has been shown to boost fertility. So now it's the time to turn into not a couch potato, but actually to get moving. Whether it's hitting the gym or going for a jog, lifting very light weights, or trying to fit something with while working out will actually help to stimulate your conception. Same thing goes for males. Even though it's highly regarded when it comes to the female, I definitely would recommend that the male also is trying to hit the gym. Why? Because number one, there's this competition base, especially when you're amongst other males that are trying to, and it increases your sperm count and your basically accelerated sperm. Now, number 5, don't worry. Stress can delay ovulation, which in turn can get in the way with conception. And it's also been shown to increase the frequency of uterine contractions. So implantation will be more difficult. Try finding ways to relax. Take a yoga class, soak in a bubble bath, go on a rejuvenating walk, write in a journal, or get a massage. And number 6, get enough sleep. Aim to log in 7 to 8 hours solid of sleep while you're trying to conceive. Researchers have shown that the spotty sleep patterns have been linked to irregular periods, which in turn can hinder your fertility. Sleep is also very important in being to push away the actual stress itself, and it also can be found to hamper or dampen your baby making plans. So please get some sleep. 7, cut out bad habits. If you smoke, it's time to quit, as smoking has been shown to negatively impact on fertility and getting pregnant. It also has increased the risk of having IUGR, or intrauterine fetal growth retardation. That just means that basically smaller babies, you end up being smaller, which is not good in term for anyone. It is also a good idea to stop drinking alcohol, or at least seriously limit your intake while you're trying to conceive. Cut back your caffeine. I hate to say this, but consumption of no more than 200 milligrams a day. That's about 1 ounce or 1 12-ounce cup of coffee. Now, last but not least, when am I due? Pregnancy lasts for about 280 days. I hate when they tell you it's 9 months. It's actually 10 months, guys. If you do the research, 40 weeks is definitely 10 months. All right, so it is about 280 days from the first day of your last normal menstrual period. This is equal to 40 weeks or 9 lunar months, which at the end of it, if you make it to 40 weeks or over, right, that's 10 months. This is the period in which your baby is likely to be due. You can use a pregnancy calculator to find your due date based on your last menstrual period. In addition, you can determine which is the best due date for your conception, and also your OBGYN will 100% tell you what is your typical due date, and they will be counting based upon your period. Your due date is calculated by adding 266 to your date of conception. I just want to say thank you guys so much for being able to tune in and really trying to find out, when do women ovulate, right? Are you trying to get pregnant? Or now you know not only how to try to get pregnant, what are 7 different tips in order for you to get pregnant faster? And even more importantly, figure out what is your due date. Once again, I'm Dr. Pukeology, giving you the answers for your best delivery and pregnancy knowledge. If you love Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast and me, don't forget to give me 5-star ratings or hearts for likes. And don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 89, When Do Women Ovulate? See you next time.
Pukeology Podcast, edutainment at its finest.